Now, maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago on the stream, we spoke about Mr. Conor McGregor. And the context we were speaking about Conor McGregor in is the fact that he has been accused multiple times of heinous acts, for example, rape. And each time this happens, there seems to be no sort of heavy backlash, no calls for cancellation, nothing. Like, you might get a few channels that cover this stuff and a few people that speak about this stuff, but there's no sort of heavy coverage the same way when you see the Young Phillies of the world, the Noel Clarks of the world, the Diddies of the world. There's a lot of coverage. There's a lot of Piers Morgan specials and documentaries and social media posts. Heavy every single time a man fits a certain narrative. But a Mr. Conor McGregor gets accused and the backlash is not the same. So anyway, we spoke about that. We broke it down. Fast forward it to yesterday. Conor McGregor is now found guilty of rape in a civil court. Now, we must add, people, that the young lady who was raped, because it's been proven now in a civil court, the young lady who was raped tried to pursue this criminally, and they said that there was not enough evidence to do this. So let's get into it. People, Conor McGregor is a special kind of person. Now, I want you to follow me on this. You got to follow me because we're going to build up to how he ends up in a place like this. Conor McGregor is a very special person, and I'm going to break it down. Back in 2011, I walked into a mixed martial arts gym in Erdington. I walked into this gym because I wanted to get back into boxing and etc, etc. When I walked into this gym, there were hundreds of guys that were training there. They were all training this sport that I had never heard of. It was called mixed martial arts. To the point where guys who were working in the gym would sometimes have jobs outside of the gym, finish that job, come to the gym, train, and then conduct a class. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. No, I couldn't believe the level of dedication to this sport that nobody watched. Like, it was a very niche sport. Nobody knew nothing about this sport. These guys were grinding. Now, a character came into the sport, and this character it's almost the same as, and hear me out, folks, back in the day when people talk about before Christ, they call it BC. They call it BC. They'll be like, 1,000 years BC. That's how monumental Christ's impact was on the world, that they have a thing BC. Now, don't get this thing twisted, folks. I'm not in no way, shape, or form comparing Conor McGregor to Christ. But what I'm saying is, in an MMA lens, the fighters look at it like before Conor and after Conor. You know why? Because before Conor, it was a hobby to most of these guys. Unless you were the absolute elite of the sport, you weren't making great money.
No.
Conor came into this thing, and from a small team in Ireland, Conor was able SPG. He was able to build himself to the UFC, where he was able to change the sport forever. Conor McGregor made mixed martial arts what it is today. A lot of people don't like hearing that, but on a popular level, Conor McGregor did this. Now, along the way, people have to understand what type of investment Conor represents to not only MMA, but the other things that he is involved in.
Yes.
One thing I will note is that when you watch Conor in the early days fighting, it was a sea of Irish flags.
Come on.
Now, for those of you who ain't familiar with the States, Boston, huge Irish community, to the point there's people there that have never been to Ireland but speak
Come
with
on.
an Irish accent.
Come on.
New York City,
Yep.
major Irish community there. This pushed the sport to a level that no one has seen before. Now, what that meant is Conor represented a huge investment for the UFC. This is a company that is worth billions today.
Yes.
They weren't worth it at that time, or not as much as it is now. So with that being said, he was able to get away with a lot, man. Let's go through. We're just going to do some brief things. Noble, you'll go into more detail. But the way I spoke to people, for me, I would say the number one thing, and I don't even think I need any more examples, is the build-up to the Khabib fight.
Oh, gosh.
This guy went low. He spoke about family. He spoke about religion. He spoke about country. He spoke about all kind of madness, and it was used to push the fight. Now, what this did is it built up the character we see today, who was able to was able to walk around, abuse people, treat people anyhow, because he represents what he represents, not only to MMA, but to Ireland as well. There are people in high places that can turn a blind eye. So when we talk about this young lady who was raped, there's something that the mainstream don't really speak about. And that is that she had goons turn up at her residence. Goons turned up at her residence. Her boyfriend was stabbed. Noble.
Indeed.
While this was going on. And the reason I'm saying this is because in Ireland, you're dealing with a man who is powerful. Like, you can't go against this guy.
How? But let's add some more detail onto that, sibling.
Okay.
Outside of what you just mentioned, is he connected to someone?
I don't want to go into the underground world of it. I don't want to go into the underground world of it. We know that he's connected there, but I don't know the ins and outs of it.
Same.
But I'll look at it. I'll go from an angle that everyone can understand.
Yeah.
This man represents Ireland. No matter what you think, he is Ireland. He speaks on Irish politics. He has a lot of investment in Ireland. So the higher ups, they ain't going to be like, yo, we're going to sell out our guy. They're not going to do that. They'll give him a few chances, which he's had. But it's got to the point now that he's become unruly, Noble, and they can't control him. And that's based off of what he's been able to get away with because of what he represents. Now, even with this case, let's get into the case. This is rape. And even the backlash has been nowhere near the backlash of allegations from other people. Like, when you listen to people, that aggressive tone, you know, I've seen people on live streams that have just got a zero tolerance approach when they hear certain things. But with this one, it was, oh, well, we don't know. I'm like, what do you mean we don't know? You've been found guilty. Oh, but it was only civil. Yeah, but tell the people the truth. Tell the people that the girl tried to make this criminal first and it was thrown out. And then she took it civil. Now, Conor, it's sad because this is a guy who could have been monumental. Like, I'm talking, this is a guy who could have been the biggest thing ever. And I'm talking about after the fact as well. But he's frigging that up day by day. Noble, come through, because there is a lot to get into.
There is. Just to recap that last sentiment, I think to a privileged few, should I say, let's put it that way, who aren't just looking at the surface level of the headlines, etc., depending on how the PR, UFC, etc., manicure this whole thing, this is not going to affect him, Mark. This isn't going to affect him. The dross of the population, they got their head in the sky or in the sand. As far as they're concerned, Conor McGregor is the man. There's obviously any serious person would obviously question all of what we've initially discussed, and then in regards to his fighting capabilities and career. You know, he hasn't fought in quite some time. He hasn't fought in quite some time. There's there's no getting away from the horrific aftercare that Nikita Hand had to endure via the surgeons having to remove things from her. There's no getting away from it. There's no getting away from some. And as I hypothesized, Mark, as I hypothesized, and I'll hypothesize again. The only way I see this not being, forced sex is based upon the medical reports and all that. Is she was out of her brains on alcohol and other illicit substances, and things just happened and it wasn't uncomfortable, etc., etc. The chances of that are slim to none. They're slim to none, but it's a possibility. We have to put that out there. We have to put that out there. And then another thing is Nikita. Was this the first time she had met Conor? Is she linked to Conor in any way, or to what's his wife's name again?
Dee.
His girlfriend. Dee. That's
who has been severely embarrassed, but we'll get back to that.
There is links, there is ties. Again, as you said, she's got a boyfriend. So she's got a boyfriend. Nikita's got a boyfriend. And the boyfriend has supported her throughout the whole of this 4-year ordeal. I listened to some of her commentary outside of the court after receiving only a minuscule £206,000, which equates to 248,603 euros for 4 years of all of this, for goons turning up at the doorstep.
They had to move, by the way.
Yeah,
they had to move.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And hey, okay. So let's add another one to this, because we're talking about someone being what's that? Aggravated bodily harm, ABH. That's ABH, that is. Aggravated actual bodily harm. Blood was on his birthday suit, not from a punch, from weaponry, right? We had another case. Do you remember Corsica and a yacht, and the woman fleeing from that yacht and getting picked up by the Coast Guards? Well, mysteriously, Mark, some people would say it's a coincidence. I think that's a made-up word, which means nothing. But strangely enough, post this happening, her car is Petrobom's sibling. We've got a layer of protection. We've got media. We've got the conglomerate of UFC. We've got the country of Ireland, who are like, we've got to run interference to a point, because this is a street. Look at tourism. Ireland is on the map.
Yeah, man, definitely.
More on the map. He's doing a lot. He's doing a lot, and unfortunately, guys, money talks, and everything else is put to the side. If he wasn't generating an income, you really think, not just an income for himself, but for hundreds of people, possibly thousands of people to eat off the back of all of these individual endeavors outside of the MMA and UFC promotion? This is highlighting multiple things. As we know, this realm that we live on, this wonderful, beautiful realm that we live on, it's run by wicked people. It's as simple as. And justice is kind of done of sorts, but it's going to be swept under the rug. This pitiful that 206,000 should be a year for a period of time, or just multiply it by 10 times 10. That's your payoff. We're really sorry. You shouldn't have had to endure that stuff. You shouldn't have had to relocate based upon the after effects of this. Yeah, it's nuts, Mark. Absolute nuts.
It is. And a monster is built by the things it gets away with. That's what you have to understand. A man was able to get away with numerous things, because you got to think, the average man, if he goes through an allegation once, you ain't going to hear no allegation over him ever again, because he's going to know how to move. But Conor understands that he's got a layer of protection. So there's certain things he can get away with. You see what I mean? And the press, this is what I'm saying. This is what people don't see. There's a difference in outrage. If you look at the details of that case, you're not hearing no, where's all these angry people, where's all these angry channels that are about?
Where's the feminists?
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. All these people that are calling to cancel this man, that man, this man, every time an allegation, Noble, an allegation, you know, a lot of this stuff that we're saying in years to come, it's going to be golden content. It's golden content now, but people can't see. But down the line, you'll see that people will understand because all of this will come to pass. Everything we're saying will come to pass because now you're seeing now that the press, where's the heavy coverage? And if you look at the type of coverage, it's the type of coverage that it should be normally, where there's no like heavy opinions given or people just relay the information.
Yeah.
It's not the same like that for everyone else.
Of course not.
It's almost like that you said, they've already got an angle. And you know what the angle is? He's appealing. So yeah, he's been found guilty in a civil court of law, but he doesn't accept that and he's appealing. End of story. Whereas when it's other guys who were like, yo, I didn't do this or A, B or C. You look at that Jonathan Majors.
Sure.
Look at the press that case got. Let's really get into this thing, man. Look at the coverage, people, that Jonathan Majors got. The man didn't do, I say it now, raw. That man didn't do anything, man. He didn't do anything. You could clearly see in the video, he's running away, tried to save his career. They found him guilty based on the fact that the press found him guilty. You know what's happened now, Noble? She has dropped her civil case against him. She's dropped her civil case against the man. She's already mashed up the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Come on.
We're never gonna get to see what Kang would have been. We're never gonna get to see it. Completely damage the man because this was a trend at the time. This was a trend.
Come on.
Let's really talk. This was a trend to just put heinous things on a man. Just, yo, this man did this. You know that if you're with a man and it mashes up, you know, yo, I can throw this over his head. That's what happened. The coverage that he was given, now I understand. I get it. A lot of men are like, yo, he should have never been over there in the first place. Accountability. I get that. People, I understand that. Because I'm someone who pushes that as well. However, there was video proof of the man running away. She has now dropped her civil case. You know why? Because there is no case. The man lost his career. It's never coming back. He lost his career. Imagine what he had to go through mentally. Mentally, you know, he has to put on a brave face even with the press because of how strong the feminist movement is in regards to those allegations. But Conor McGregor, there's actual details of him taking his things and pushing it so far in the girl that they had to surgically remove the tampon.
Come on.
So hold on a second. Where's that same coverage? Where's that same outrage that people had for a man who was running away from a woman? This is the mainstream media, people. This is today's influencers and all that. They just go with the narrative.
Yep. This
guy lost his whole career based on some lover's tiff. I'm going to say it as it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what
it was. A lover's tiff. You scrambling for a phone because you don't want her to see whatever's going on in your phone is not domestic violence, people. That's what you call a lover's tiff. That should have been kept out of the public and the man should still have his career, but it was not given the same grace. Conor McGregor, you actually see a video of him going into a bathroom with a woman who then said she was assaulted.
Come on.
There is medical professionals who have said that medically she was assaulted, like based on the research that they've did, you know, with all the things that
Bruises
we've said,
all over her body, Mark, on
all of
her
that.
breasts, scratches. Or listen, there again. Look, we look at both sides. People are into, very interesting things when when the doors are shut. Some people like rough stuff. We can't be immature in that respect. But we've got to be really reaching, man. We've got to be really reaching, because people are basically hypothesizing that she had the link with D already, and this was some money grab. So this was an elaborate plot to get money out of him. So what you're saying is she was friends with D. Her and her boyfriend was like, yeah, you know what? Make that relationship better and see if you can actually link Conor in a sexual kind of relationship, yeah? And then once you've done that, just cry rape. Come on, man. I mean, there are some sick people out here. Let's not get that twisted. But how far-fetched is that? How would that even manifest in the physical realm? How it is now? And then 4 years down the later, she tries to do it criminally. It don't work. She does it civilly to get something, to get it
There's
out.
questions to ask. There's questions to ask there, Noble, because again, we understand that there are medical reports. But just before we get into that, though, Aisha, big up yourself, man. What your facts? Let me read it out. The media are trying to make black men the face of all sexual perversions and violence. Black men don't have a chance, which is why they shouldn't take these risks. Aisha, that is an absolute fact. However,